again, I know I'm a little late to the party, but some came up for our campaign of I Stand with Vic. Recently at Florida Supercon, someone questioned both Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat, quote, I know there's a lot of stuff that shouldn't need to be talked about in the workplace, but how does it feel? How do you feel after you backstabbed Vic Mignogna? Now, whoever this guy was, it's a double-edged sword with what he did. On the one hand, I'll give him, and in my opinion, what he pulled is a stunt that's similar to a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I will give him props for calling out Sean and Chris for stabbing Vic in the back. Now, in a couple of weeks' time, they're going to be in Raleigh for Raleigh Supercon, and if I were going, I'd probably do the same. On the other hand, what I would not do is what he did, plugging his own YouTube channel. After he stayed #IStandWithVic, he plugged his own YouTube channel. We do not need that kind of arrogance on I Stand With Vic. Yes, I'll admit I'm openly egotistical, and judgmental and moralistic, but not to the point where I'm promoting my own channel. I'm only saying like, comment, and subscribe, not plugging my own channel to that level. The level of drawing that kind of attention to myself. Now again, if I was going to Raleigh Supercon July 5th to the 28th, or 6th to the 28th, I would have done the same thing. Called Schemmel and Sabat out about it. I mean, they pretty much drove the only guy I would have wanted to see at the con, Todd, away from it. And Todd Abercorn away from it. And the allegations more or less forced Vic to be given the boot. Early on. And Todd's removal was a few months from the con, was a few months ago. And anyone who remembers one of my older videos where I threatened that I would kick, if I did show up at Supercon, big if, I would have kicked both Schemmel's and Sabat's teeth down their throats. For what they did to Vic, betraying him. So if I was going to Supercon now, keep in mind I'm not in the Raleigh Super now, which, keep in mind, I'm not. I have believe it or not, Dad's compensation for skipping out on me a couple of weeks ago to talk to him over breakfast at Hardee's. He's taking me to an NXT live show on the 28th. Either way, Raleigh Supercon's out the window. Raleigh Supercon is out the window for me. But if I were to see them at either Queen City Anime in the future, if I ever get let back in Ichiban and Triad in the future, I just tell this to them. If it's Schemmel, not my Goku. If it's Rial, not my Bulma. If it's Sabat, not my Piccolo, and definitely not my Vegeta. Hang on a second, I need to find something. No, the plot, anointment. Here it is. From the account of John. John 13, 21 through 26. And through 27. And this is what I think of both Sean and Chris. Now Jesus was deeply troubled, and he exclaimed, I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me this very night. The disciples looked at each other, wondering whom he could mean. The disciple that Jesus loved was sitting next to Jesus at the table. Simon Peter motioned him to ask, who is he talking about? So that disciple leaned over and asked, Lord, who is it? Jesus responded, it is the one to whom I give the bread that I dip in the bowl. And when he had dipped it, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. When Jesus had eaten the bread, Satan entered into him. Then Jesus told him, hurry and do what you're going to do. That was from the account of John. The account of Matthew has an even more darker omen for traitors. Let's see, where is it? Nope. Here it is. I've used this I used this in one of my more recent Funimation as a whole roasts. Don't mind if I say it again. But for the Son of Man must die, as the Scriptures declared long ago. But woe to him who betrays him. For it would have been far better for that man if he had never been born. Matthew 26:24. Or in this case, woe to the men who betray others, for they be better off betray others, for they would have been better off never born. Harsh of me to say, I'll admit. But let's face it, the bulk of Funimation and Rooster Teeth, it's a den of vipers. Outside of a select few. Monica Rial, Chris Sabat, Sean Schemmel, Chris Rager, Josh Martin, Pat Seitz, J. Michael Tatum, Greg Aries, Damon Mills, DC and Jason Douglas, Miles Luna, Jen Brown, Kerry Shawcross. You're a baker's dozen of Judases. You bent the knee to a bunch of scuttlebutt and woke culture outrage, and saw it as an opportunity to get rid of your cash cow, to ship the cash cow, the man who put Funimation on the map, straight to the slaughterhouse. And personally, I pity that Todd Habercorn, Chuck Huber, Lucy Christian, Kyle Hebert, Johnny Young Bosch, and Ruben Langdon are all stuck in there for God knows how long. And Chris Aries. I forgot about him. I really hate the fact that one of our own would go as far as to promote himself instead of just sticking to the cause. For those who exalt themselves will get humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Matthew 23:12. And this is to the guy who plugged his own YouTube channel when he called Sabbath and Schemmel out. It just draws unwanted attention. For the wrong reasons. I stand with Vic now, then, forever. But I don't promote myself in that fashion. Mets 2128 signing out. Goodbye and good night. Bang.